say thank you to everyone for joining us today. Welcome to the session. The webinar will be recorded. So I think it's been recorded already, and it'll be published to our YouTube channel then very soon. Tom's just put a link, I think, to the YouTube channel if you want to go and check it out, but we'll make sure to follow up with an email as well, just to make sure that everyone's got that link after the session. And there will be a Q&A at the end, so if you've got any questions, please post them in the chat at any time, and then we'll have a bit of time to go through them then before we finish. So just to go over the agenda quickly. So my name's Mark Price, and I'm the Business Development Director here at Pew. So in the first sort of half, I'm going to be looking at Microsoft's brand new update around Microsoft Scout. So this is a Copilot AI tool that's just been announced at Build, and then I'll also be looking at some very quick updates around Cowork. So we did cover this last month, but there have been a few more updates since then. Then for the second half, we're joined by Javvad from KnowBe4. So Javvad will just be going through some of their solutions around security awareness training and also their inbound email security solutions then for any organizations using M365, which most of you are here today. So I've mentioned Microsoft Build. So if anyone doesn't know what it is, just quickly, it's Microsoft's annual conference, and it's mainly targeted towards developers and slightly more technical users. But more recently, in sort of recent years, they have used it more for general updates as well, and there's quite a few updates that do tend to come out. So Tom's just posting a link if you are interested in checking out all those updates. We'll follow up with a link again in the follow-up email just to make sure you get that. But if there's anything you read in there that you have maybe seen that we don't have time to cover today, please let us know, and we can cover them in future webinars as well then. So one thing that sort of the biggest thing I'd say that caught my attention was this update around Autopilots. So it's a new category of AI agents. So Microsoft described this as an always-on agent. So how it tends to work is once set up, it can sit in the background and stay active, and then it can take actions automatically then when needed. So typically when you've used AI tools in the past, such as Copilot or ChatGPT or anything like that, you typically need to prompt it to get it to start doing that work. But with these autopilots, they can sort of trigger automatically then based on like workflows you've set up. So that's a really interesting thing I thought that came out, probably the number one update that caught my attention. And if you're wondering where Scout fits in, so we'll cover this in a bit more detail next, but Scout is Microsoft's first autopilot agent then. So like I said, it was announced at Build, and it's based on, if you've heard of OpenClaw technology, that's what Scout is based on. So OpenClaw technology is an open source technology. And like I said, it's a bit different to your sort of usual Gen AI tools. So instead of interacting with it through a browser or an app interface, it tends to sort of sit there in the background acting autonomously then. So it can sit on a machine such as your computer or a server, for example. And because it's machine-based, it turns into, Microsoft describe it as a desktop AI experience then. So it can look at local things as well. So it can look at local files, cloud files. It can look at web browser data, M365 data, and a much broader aspect then because it runs on that machine. And I think that's why Microsoft have done this integration. So OpenClaw technology is the ideal technology for this kind of thing because rather than just responding to one prompt at a time or sort of answering questions like you typically get with a chat interface, like I said, Scout is that always-on agent. So it stays active then and works autonomously in the background. So there are quite a few recent updates around sort of different Copilot and AI tools from Microsoft. So I came across this sort of handy graphic on LinkedIn from one of the Microsoft teams. So we covered Cowork last month. So this sort of shows where the standard traditional Copilot fits in compared to that Cowork, and then this Scout, which is the new update. So typically with your traditional Copilot tool, like I said, you interact through a chat interface, and that can be done for things like summarizing documents, drafting emails and text, asking questions and that kind of thing. So as you can see there, that's generally classified as an assistive tool, so it can assist you in your work. Where Cowork fits in then, so this is the one based on Claude technology, and Tom will be posting a link to the recording for last month if anyone hasn't seen that and you want to catch up. But Cowork is designed for that multi-step, much more deep reasoning tasks then, and that can be applied across multi-steps and multi-apps, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and it can create all those different outputs in one go. So as you can see there, that's described as more of an execution tool. So whereas Copilot assists you, Cowork will execute the work for you. And then you've got the Scout there. So this is the new sort of update, and I'll go into this in a bit more detail, but that's described as the stay ahead for me tool. So like I said, a much more autonomous. So you've got your assisting, executing, and the stay ahead piece then, which we'll have a look at next. So I have got a short video. There is a bit of music. I don't think it quite came through, so I'll just play this in the background. Oops. There we are. So as you can see, that introduces the Autopilots bit, and Scout is that first Autopilot agent that Microsoft have released. So it just walks you through the typical sort of example prompt. You can see a lot of automations will kick in around Teams, Outlook. It can do things like keep an eye out for any emails coming in or any Teams calendar invites and things like that. And one of the key things there as well is they say it'll integrate directly in Teams. So if you're working in Teams constantly, day in, day out, you can access Scout in that Teams interface as well then. So just a quick video there showing, a short sort of introduction to what it can do, but just to look at some example scenarios quickly as well. Like I said, it does work both locally and in the cloud, so it can create documents, edit documents, search files, both locally and cloud-based. And of course, because it's a Microsoft tool, it does connect to M365 as well, so it does link into things like WorkIQ. It can access OneDrive, SharePoint, all those typical things you would expect to access across your M365 tenant. Browsers, so that's another one, so it can navigate web pages, access web apps and web-based content, fill forms, things like that. For the slightly more technical side, it can do things like run shell commands and scripts. It can delegate work to sub-agents as well if you've got sort of larger tasks that need to be broken down into smaller chunks. And I think the number 6 there, so that's really what differentiates it from most of the sort of updates we've seen around Copilot. So like I said, it does work autonomously in the background. And there's 2 main modes there. So it's the heartbeat mode, which constantly sends like a background check. So you can set that between sort of 15 up to 120 minute intervals, or you can do trigger based then. So like I said earlier, it might be set up based on an email coming in or something, and that will kickstart the workflow then. So there's a few different options around there. One thing to keep in mind, obviously, because this is quite a powerful tool and it's got access to quite a broad range of resources, the governance and security side comes in. So I just wanted to touch on this quickly. It does work on a detailed permissions level. So you can do things like turn on and off specific categories, capability categories. So if you don't want it to access M365 or you don't want it to access the browser or run scripts, things like that can be turned off granularly. And also the second and third boxes there, you can see you can still have that sort of approval process in place. So whether it's specific shell commands or scripts or specific directories that it can access, you can set them up to be constantly approved by a human then before it goes off and does that work. And just quickly at the bottom as well, you'll see it does operate within the boundaries of existing compliance tools. So say if you've got Purview set up with sensitivity labels and data loss prevention policies, that will all work with Scout as well. So, if you're asking it to go off and access some sensitive HR documents that you don't typically have access to, that will recognize those sort of boundaries. So it won't go off and give you those results if you haven't got access to them. So I think my slides just disappeared. There we are. Tom's on the ball. And in terms of administration, so there is a few things. It is in preview mode at the moment through the Frontier program. So there are a few additional sort of prerequisites around this. So you do need an M365 Copilot license, the premium license, as well as the GitHub license, GitHub Copilot license, so either the business or the enterprise version. So they're the two licenses that are the prerequisites, and then you need a compatible machine. Like I said, you'll need a Windows or a Mac, and that will need to be configured with an Intune policy as well. And then it does work on a credit system, so any usage will be based on Copilot credits, which we'll touch on in a sec. So, like I said, there have been a few quick updates around Cowork as well since the last time. So if I just jump to the next slide. So this is just a recap of what I covered last month. There is a short blog on our website as well. So Tom will post the link to the recording and the blog in the chat. But in just one line, Cowork is Microsoft's integration of Claude AI models into Copilot. And that brings in the Claude Cowork functionality then, which, like you can see there, is designed for much longer multi-step tasks. And one of the things that's changed with that sort of general availability launch, so it's gone out of the Frontier Early Access Program into the general availability worldwide status. And it does change the way you access it. So the short GIF there will now show the Cowork tab, which you can access in the top left. So if you do have a paid M365 Copilot license, that should either be appearing for you now or once you've done the configurations around the Claude integrations then. So that should be rolling out for you soon. And just to touch on the credit, so this is another important one. If you used it in the Frontier program, you would have noticed it was included in the M365 Copilot license at no additional cost. So from now, actually, but it depends if you've used the Frontier program already, you'll get a bit of leeway until the 1st of July. But they are introducing this credit system for Cowork as well. There is a link I think Tom will be posting, which gives more details on the different types of tasks, like you can see on the screen, and the cost for each prompt. And there is also a calculator link then, so you can try and estimate how much usage that will cost you. So that's something really important to keep on top of if you either have been or plan to use Copilot in the coming weeks or months. So that's just a few quick updates around there. I'll soon be passing to Javvad, but so this links nicely. We've seen how fast AI moves. There's new updates every day, and as well as the benefits around the sort of productivity, creativity, efficiency gains, there'll always be people using these kind of new technologies for malicious purposes. So Javad's just going to introduce some of KnowBe4 solutions around combating these threats then. So over to you, Javvad.
Thank you so much. I'll just try to share my screen. Let's see. Hopefully that's coming through okay.
Yeah, I can see that. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so the world is changing, and I think all security needs a bit of an evolution to keep up to date. So things that were working very well 10, 20 years ago, or maybe not so well 10, 20 years ago, they definitely need to be upgraded given today's reality. So I'm going to give a very whistle-stop tour of everything. We'll talk about the evolution. So many of you, if you're familiar with KnowBe4, you know us for security awareness training. I'll just quickly talk about how we've evolved from that, what AI native security looks like, and why the platform approach we've taken, and why we believe that's the right approach. So let's talk about the evolution. But before we do that, maybe you can pop it in the chat. I don't know if the chat's open to everyone, but without cheating, without using your Copilot, what year did Google Maps launch turn-by-turn navigation? Does anyone know that? So I don't know if the chat's open, but if it's not, it's okay.
The chat should be open, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's all right. People can be shy. That's all right. The answer was 2007, and I was like, "Wow, that was only like 3 years ago." And then I was like, "No, that was more than 3 years ago." So, but I think it's a strange world because you've got people who are fully grown adults now who've never experienced a world with a paper map, which is what I grew up with the A to Zs. And I remember my parents always arguing about, which way they're going, holding the map the right way, and where it's going. And I think that's a really good analogy of security awareness training, how it was 15, 20 years ago. It's like a static map that never changed. So what it was like is it's like you could be driving down a place and then realize that there's been redevelopment in the area. What used to be, open fields is now a retail park. So now you don't know where to go, or new roundabouts have been put in or taken out. So, and thing is, like, you just have one map printed for everybody to use, which is kind of like how security awareness training was. You just get one set of learning modules that you'd push out to everyone once a year or once a quarter. And even if that threat was no longer valid, you'd probably still keep running with that. Today, we use Google Maps to navigate, or Apple Maps, whichever one it is. But it's live data. It tells you when a road is blocked. It helps you navigate around it. It's tailored to you. So if you're going along the M1 and there's a lane closure, it will tell you that there's a lane closure. There's no point if you're going along the M1 and it tells you there's a lane closure in the M6, because that's not relevant to you. So what we found is that you need to take that kind of personalized and adaptive approach to security awareness training today. And this is, again, what AI, the developments in AI have allowed us to do that now. Before that technology wasn't around, but now you can almost build personalized learning journeys for every individual. And not only that, you can give them the right information at the right time when they need it the most. So it's contextually aware. So if you're the type of person that never travels for work, there's no point in delivering you a training module that says, here are 5 ways to stay safe when you're traveling. It's irrelevant to you. But if I would travel for work and the system sees that I go onto the online booking system to book my flights or train tickets or what have you, that's the point where it should send me a quick reminder saying, hey, we see you're traveling. Here's a quick reminder of five tips to stay safe online. So it's something that guides you and evolves as things go on. So, we want to move away from this old mentality of watch this video, click complete, and we'll see you next year. That might satisfy the regulator, but it doesn't change actual behavior. So the evolution, you could break it down into 3 areas. There's security awareness training. That then moved on to human risk management, where we're trying to where a lot of this real-time coaching came in. But where we are today is what we call digital workforce security. And that is that AI agents, just like we just saw, they become more autonomous. They can take actions on your behalf. That's part of your workforce now. That shouldn't be considered a separate, just a tool, because it's taking actions on your part. And the thing with AI agents and humans, both can make mistakes and both can be attacked. So we need to be mindful of that. We need to take into account everything that happens. a question that we'll probably see more and more of. If someone in your organization delegates a sensitive task to an AI agent to carry out, and it's autonomously running that, that's all well and good. If that person now leaves your organization, what happens to that agent? Is it an orphan agent that keeps on running? Does that get killed off immediately as soon as the owner leaves? Does it get transferred to somebody else? These are sort of the questions that I think it's a new reality. We'll be facing more and more of these. So we need to be kind of mindful of that. So what does this AI native security look like in practice, and how do we change behavior? Well, we have like a whole suite of features and products within our training. Some of the relevant ones are ADA, it's like AI defense agents. So this is where you can automate your campaigns and send them out in a personalized way. Security Coach is another product which offers like micro content. It's like a little nudge right when people need it the most. And then you have like things like Campaign Builder. So instead of you spending time trying to segment your users and saying, well, the HR team need this kind of training and developers need this and the exec team need this, it can all work it out for you. So you're reclaiming a lot of your admin time that you can then use to focus on actual risk reduction, which is what we all want to do. So that's the security awareness part of the pillar. The second part is where we acquired Egress a few years ago, and that's a big part of our inbound email security. And it works very well with Microsoft. So Microsoft will do your checks, like looking at filters and links and attachments. But there's a lot of things that get through because it's context. It looks safe, but the context isn't right. So this is where KnowBe4's inbound email security, it adds that behavioral AI layer to it. So it looks at context, it looks at tone, looks at relationships, look at those behavioral patterns. Maybe it's not unusual to receive an email from your CEO, but receiving it at 2 a.m. With a sense of urgency, with a new link in there, all these things, it might make it past your first check, but it shouldn't make it past this next stage. This email looks fine. I think that those are the famous last words that so many people say. It looked fine. And this is where like behavioral AI can catch what looks innocent. And even if it's not 100% sure, because we can't be, it can add some contextual banners or information to it saying, hey, look, we've delivered this to your inbox, but just keep an eye out for this because this looks a bit off. And then that's a trigger so that you can slow down a bit and not just reply to that or action it on autopilot, which is really the big thing. If you can just pause a bit before taking action, that can make all the difference. And every threat, we believe, is a teaching moment. And so, it's not just about detecting and blocking. It's about detecting and coaching and then reinforcing that and then measuring the improvement. So it's like an ongoing cycle. So we actually shift behavior, not just make things completely a black box approach that people don't know what's going on. So what does the platform in totality look like? Well, I think what you need to do, you need to look at something that spans your entire digital workforce. And, there's all these stats out there, and these are pulled from one of our recent surveys, but other stats are available. So people make mistakes. There's shadow AI. There's people getting tricked by social engineering. There's people just bypassing policy because they just want to be a bit more efficient. And what it is, we shouldn't look at these as individual problems that need to be solved. There's an underlying root cause that often between it that people are just trying to be more efficient, or they're trying to get work done, or they're just under a lot of pressure. So we need to architect systems that actually look at all of it. Analysts say a lot of stuff. I just throw that in for a bit of credibility sometimes. But I think one way to look at it, and this is not an official framework or anything, but I like the acronym DEEP, is like, think about it as a defense in depth, but for your workforce. Like, you want to defend against attacks before they reach your workforce. You need to educate them or put in guardrails, empower them, and then protect them if mistakes happen. And the empowerment piece is actually really important, because it's all well and good saying to people, don't click on a suspicious link. but you need to empower them and to say, like, well, what do you expect me to do with this now? And that's where you provide them tools like, here's how you report them, or how you do things quickly. This is kind of like the KnowBe4 platform in totality. You've got the attack simulation and training pillar, which is where all your security awareness training sits. You've got collaboration security, where your email security sits. And then we've got the upcoming agentic security module, which is in a beta at the moment, but it should be generally available soon. We have SmartRisk Score that pulls together all the risk from all your workforce into one smart risk. And that really gives you a good view as to how well or poorly your organization is doing and which way things are moving. And I think, like, it's not just about technology. Really, what we're talking about is trust and judgment, especially as AI gets more and more involved. You've probably heard lots of cases about people, they using AI as their therapist or as their fitness coach or what have you, or as their relationship guide. And it sometimes gives horrible advice. Why? And people follow it because they trust it, because they engage with it so much, they trust it so much that they get oblivious to everything else. It's a bit like people that follow Google Maps and go off into a river because Google Maps was saying go this way, so they just trust it so much. So we need to not lose sight of that. It's not just awareness. It's about building those mental models that empower people. So questions. I think if you deployed AI agents tomorrow in your workforce, who's responsible for their security? Who's responsible for looking after them when they're orphans? If anything that gets past your existing email, what mechanisms do you have in place to catch it? And oh, did my screen stop sharing? I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I think it's disappeared for a sec.
Yeah. It's okay. Let's try that again. No. Oh yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's back. Yeah.
Yep. Does your training actually change behavior? I think that's key. How do you measure the movement of risk, and do you prioritize best in breed just for solving one problem, or are you trying to tackle the entire thing through a platform approach? So those are just some questions to leave with you to ponder. So with that, I'd like to thank you so much for your time, and I can hand you back.
Perfect. Thank you, Javvad. If I just get this up quickly, but yeah, definitely. We see, like I said at the start, we see all these updates, and there's AI updates and advancements sort of daily now. So I think it's becoming more critical to make sure your users are aware, isn't it? So thank you for covering that. Just a second, everyone can hear me fine, can you? All good? There we are, perfect, thanks. Sorry. Got a few connection issues today. But yeah, just want to leave you on this before we go to a quick Q&A. So the next Microsoft Updates webinar is coming up in July. So usually it's the third Wednesday, but we have pushed it on a day to Thursday the 16th, just because there is a clash with that one below, as you can see. So if there's anyone local to the area, we are taking part in the AI Summit at Aber Innovation on the 15th of July. It's a Business Wales event. I think it's free to attend, so we'll follow up with more details on that soon. And also the Eisteddfod coming up in August. So again, anyone local, we will have a presence there. But Tom will post a link to register for that next webinar in the chat. And just before we go to Q&A, I think Tom was also going to be publishing the short poll. So as usual, it's just 2 or 3 quick questions, just to get some feedback on the session today. And if you've got any suggestions for future webinar topics, or if you want to book a call with Pew or KnowBe4 to cover some of these in more detail, then please do leave some feedback in the poll. But yeah, I don't know if is there any questions come through in the chat so far, Tom?
No questions so far.
No questions. Okay. If you want, we'll give it a few minutes, see if anything pops in. But I think just to kick things off then, I guess, Javvad, I know internally we we do a lot of sort of phishing simulations and things like that, just to make sure people are up to date. And it's hard to keep up to date, like I said, with all these sort of fast-paced AI advancements. But what we find is people tend to like the shorter, sharp sort of training modules. Is that the kind of approach you're seeing in terms of feedback? Do people prefer the short and sharp sessions as opposed to thinking, they've got to set aside like an hour or half a day to go through like a full course type of thing?
Yeah, that's definitely the way. So I think we need variety for every type. So different people learn and prefer to learn in different ways, and for different situations, you need different things. For the most part, you can get away with short, sharp, very tailored content. But then there are some topics that do need a bit more thought put into it. So, those depending on your organization. So if you're a heavily regulated industry and there is a new regulation or something that you have to abide by, then you can't really get away with just a TikTok style 30-second overview. You need something that's a bit more meaningful. Also, sometimes the style of delivery varies. So, some people prefer a live animation, a live video. Some people prefer animated. Some people want a game. Some people just want a bunch of posters or screen images pushed out to them. So again, all of that is available. And, this is part of where, we can provide all the variety, but the organizations, they know their culture best and they know what their people need best. So they should choose from the library, and we can assist with that. But they can help that see what resonates best, because the objective isn't just to push out the content; it's to make sure that it's relevant and resonates with the recipient.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Cool, thank you for that. I can't see any questions coming in, so I think we've covered everything in sufficient detail by the looks of it. But like I said, if you want to leave feedback in the poll, if you want a follow-up call with any of us, or just leave a chat or follow up with your Pew account manager or anyone at Pew, we'd be happy to carry on the conversations afterwards. But I think on that then we'll end it there. So thank you to everyone for coming. Hopefully we'll see you in the next webinar. Thanks again to Javvad and the KnowBe4 team. And we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you.